Let me play some sound here for you guys. Speaking of the Dolphins, who are very injured, and it has a great deal to do with what it is that's happening with the Dolphins. But I want to play for you Craig Carton. He is now officially dismissing all of the Dolphins, and the season is over 4 games in. Let's hear this.
The Dolphins aren't a very good football team. Period. Stop. You don't have a competent quarterback. Your head coach is the most overrated coach maybe in the history of football. It is very frustrating. Consider Mr. Mike McDaniels right now, who's supposed to be this offensive guru and the wonder kid. He's 1-6 without Tua. In those 7 games, they've only thrown for 6 touchdown passes. And as you can see there, a lot of turnovers, not a lot of points. So two things on this, right? Number one, the Dolphins season's over. We can all agree to that. So let's just move on from that. Number 2, and I'm asking for America right now. When do we all agree that it's time to get off the Mike McDaniel choo-choo train of he's the future of the NFL? He has never coached the team to a playoff win. As you saw there, he stinks without Tua, who's, in my opinion, an average quarterback anyway. And he doesn't do anything all that creative to win games.
The scheme seemed to have worked to the best offense in the league last year. So it feels like this is a bit kind of shell gamey when it comes to there's a lot of injuries. And one thing that is maybe right, he has a tough time playing from behind against, on the road against good teams. That is true. We've seen that. But we've also seen this offense work really, really well.
I mean, tell me you're a Jets fan without telling me you're a Jets fan. I mean, geez, that's all I heard there. Jets, I'm a Jets fan. I'm a Jets fan. I hate the Dolphins.
Let me hear that again. I want to hear it again.
Oh, must we?
Yes.
The Dolphins aren't a very good football team. Period. Stop. You don't have a competent quarterback. Your head coach is the most overrated coach maybe in the history of football. It is very frustrating. Consider Mr. Mike McDaniels right now, who's supposed to be this offensive guru and the wonder kid. He's 1-6 without Tua. In those 7 games, they've only thrown for 6 touchdown passes. And as you can see there, a lot of turnovers, not a lot of points. So two things on this, right? Number one, the Dolphins season's over. We can all agree to that. So let's just move on from that. Number 2, and I'm asking for America right now. When do we all agree that it's time to get off the Mike McDaniel choo-choo train of he's the future of the NFL? He has never coached the team to a playoff win. As you saw there, he stinks without Tua, who's, in my opinion, an average quarterback anyway. And he doesn't do anything all that creative to win games.
Craig Carton isn't a very good broadcaster, period, stop. You don't have competent leadership in this business. You have a broadcaster who's maybe the most overrated broadcaster in the history of broadcasting. It's very frustrating. Consider this. Mr. Craig Cartons, who's supposed to be an offensive guru and wonder kid, he's a 3.5 years in prison without a microphone. In those 3.5 years, he only defrauded $4.8 million from investors. And as you can see there, lots of blackjack, lots of securities fraud, wire fraud. 2 things on this. Number 1, Fox Sports' reputation is over. We can all agree on that. So let's move on from that. Number 2, and I'm asking for America right now, when do we all agree that it's time to get off the Craig Carton choo-choo train? That he's not the future of broadcasting. He has never broadcasted credibly. As you saw there, he stinks without the shock jockey stuff, which in my opinion is average anyway, and he doesn't do anything creative.
I do kind of agree with him, though.
Same.
Also, Dan, you needed to be a lot more breathless when you did that in order to really hit those
higher pitch too.
Where are we? Get on the choo-choo train. I was like, damn, man, get that guy an oxygen tank.
Like an octave higher too would have been great. You did a little too low. Usually you're a little.
I'm not good at the shock jockey stuff.
You want to try it again?
Maybe hit the casino before you come into work before you do it next time.
Yeah.
Do some jumping jacks so you can get a little out of breath.
All right, let's see if I try it again.
Have a heater.
Ooh, I want to see Dan do jumping jacks.
Okay. All right, so we're going to coach Dan up.
There we go.
Listening audience.
He should do it while he's doing jumping jumping jacks. I mean,
Get those arms all the way
Arms
down,
straight,
Dano.
arms
Too much.
straight.
Too much.
All the way down.
All we're trying to do is get the cardio up, guys. We're not trying to get a full workout.
Get him to do
here.
some high knees. I mean,
Greg would die if he did this.
Yes.
They want you to do some high knees.
Greg
by
would
the
have
way.
already been dead.
Get some high knees. Okay, there we
Oh,
go.
all
Wow.
right.
Whoa.
Yeah.
The same time. There we go.
Alternate.
That's
alternate.
something.
Alternate.
You're doing something.
All right, I think that's enough, right? I don't want them to drop dead on us. All right, here we go, Dan. Now, do it again. A little bit more high pitched.
Yep.
And a little bit. Give us some oomph. Not.
I don't think I'm breathless enough though yet.
Yes,
think
you
I
are.
am?
I just
More
heard him.
jumping
I
jacks?
just
Go ahead.
heard it. He's-
Yeah, go.
No, he's
Do a
not.
few
How
more.
about
okay.
open the gate, close the gate.
More.
Hip flexion.
Okay. So, for the listening audience, we've got Dan doing calisthenics here. He's trying to get his heart rate up, get a little out of breath so he can better recreate the Carton experience. Ladies and gentlemen, this is called method acting, right? Some people, they just walk in there and they just do the lines. No, not Dan Le Batard. Not Dan Le Batard. He goes through all the motions to get himself prepared for the role. Here we go.
Craig Carton isn't a very good broadcaster. Period. Stop. You don't have competent leadership in this business. You have a broadcaster who is maybe the most overrated broadcaster in the history of broadcasting. It's very frustrating. Consider this. Mr. Craig Carton's now, who's supposed to be this offensive guru and wonder kid, he's 3.5 years in prison without a microphone. This is too breathy.
Keep going.
In his 3.5 years, he only defrauded $4.8 million from investors. And as you can see there, a lot of blackjack, a lot of securities fraud and wire fraud. 2 things on this.
2.
Number 1, Fox Sports' reputation is over. We can all agree to that. So let's move on from that. Number 2, and I'm asking for America right now, when do we all agree it's time to move off of Craig Carton choo-choo train, that he's the future of broadcasting? He's never broadcasted credibly. As you see there, he stinks without the shock jockey stuff, which in my opinion is average anyway, and he doesn't do anything creative.
Good stuff.
Better. Daniel Le Batard.
The regret that I have in the first hour, and I don't know if this is what happened, but I felt like it was what was happening. I was just doing bit on Craig Carton. However, I will say, while my objection, because I'm always pro forgiveness on just about everything, especially when you've served your time for mistakes, my objection to everything that's happened with Craig Carton is about the industry. It's not about Craig Carton. It's about the idea that that somebody would get second chances when whatever the skill set is of what we do isn't that special. That second chances need to be given around here for talking into microphones. But you can object to that in a second. Can I get to my regret?
I didn't
though?
say anything. I'm making faces.
You did say you said whoa, and then you threw up your hands and you
soft
distracted
whoa.
me.
Let him cleanse his soul, man. Go ahead.
Go ahead, please continue.
Dan, Babe Ruth actually would have seen a pitch machine because the pitch machine was invented in 1897.
Huh.
2 years after Babe Ruth was born. So in his prime,
Wow.
he would have been taking hacks out of a pitching machine.
The pitching machine was invented in 1897.
That first one.
Charles Howard Hinton invented the first pitch machine in 1897 at Princeton
I need
University.
to see what that first one looked like.
Was it coal powered?
It
I have
was.
black smoke coming out the top of it.
It was gunpowder.
Oh, even better.
Assembled by a catapult and was powered by gunpowder to provide a consistent, accurate pitches for the Princeton baseball team.
Everybody who comes out of a bullpen now is powered by gunpowder. Everybody throwing
Of a different
100
kind.
miles an hour. So the thing that made me leak confidence on that is that I felt like the entire room recoiled when my first sentence was about Craig Carton not being a very good broadcaster. I felt like I lost there's the first pitching machine right there. It's a cannon.
Imagine, you don't know if you're going to take BP or somebody's
That
going to
thing
shoot you.
is terrifying.
That's the thing that Magnum PI's assistant shot in the intro.
That is well done by you. I mean, don't ever ask me the origins of why a guy has a cannon, okay?
I mean, you are so self-involved that you just referenced the Magnum PI intro that you referenced a week ago, expecting that people would know what you're talking about, because in the middle of the Magnum PI intro, his butler is inexplicably shooting a cannon. That's the reference that you just made.
That's the cannon he's shooting.
Everyone knows the Magnum PI intro, Dan.
Duh.
That's Stash, by the way.
Put it on the poll at LeBatard Show. Does everyone know the Magnum PI intro?
Are you done explaining your regret from hour one?
I don't know if I have it right, but the room recoiled, and then I started leaking confidence on what it is that I was doing. Do I have accurate how it is that the room responded to me, opening with the idea of mimicking Craig Carton by saying Craig Carton isn't a very good broadcaster, period, stop, because I felt like I lost all of you right there, that you thought it was mean, that I'd crossed the line, because I don't usually say anything like that very often. And it felt too harsh about somebody, and I felt like I lost you. But if indeed you felt that, my next thought was, if you felt it there, why don't you feel it when Craig Carton says it about Mike McDaniel? Because we've gotten so used to, you can criticize anything from these entertainers and sports figures, that we could be any kind of cruel to them. But why wouldn't you apply the same standard across the board to people who are talking about sports as well?
It was a good take. I mean, I don't know what to tell you.
He had graphics on the screen, though. That if you had graphics on the screen for the take that you had, maybe that would have been I would have been able to scan down. He had like Mike McDaniel 1 for 6 against X, Y, and Z teams.
Tony, what would the graphics have been for Dan's segment right there, Dan's take? Well, should we have years in prison?
Years in prison,
Money
embezzled, certain.
That would have been good. That would have been good to do
Felonies.
that graphically.
Carton stats.
To even be meaner than I already was being.
So you think we recoiled the way that Magnum PI recoils when the butler pulls off the cannon in the Magnum PI intro? I didn't get that sense that we were recoiling from that.
I didn't either, but Dan certainly sensed it from you guys. Dan sometimes, you know what you're like, Dan? You know those they got like dogs that can smell a stroke happening before you actually have it? You're like that with that room. You sense things. They don't even know it's happened yet, but it's already happened.